There was a man who had a pair of scissor hands. Whatever came into his hands could be trimmed neatly. The man's name was Edward, and he was a half-finished robot. Originally, the scientists planned to install both hands on him, but just when they were about to do so, the scientist had a heart attack. Those hands fell apart as well. Edward reached out to touch the scientist's face, only to have the sharp scissors cut a bloody scar in one go. Since then, Edward lived alone in the old castle. He got those scars on his face every time he tried to hug himself. One day, his life changed. Peg, a salesman, came to his door to sell cosmetics. While the outside of the castle looked deserted, the inside was neatly manicured, but there was no one in such a big old castle. Turning his head, Peg finds Edward in the attic. Edward looked scary, but his face was covered in scars, making Peg feel heartbroken. Peg took Edward home. This made Edward feel warm for the first time. Peg's family didn't reject Edward and became friendly with him. When the neighbors heard that there was a man in Peg's house, they were curious and ran to see him. Peg then throws a tea party for everyone to see. Edward tried to accommodate everyone, but his heart was still empty. A tea night, Edward sleeps in Kim's bed. Kim returns early and takes off her coat as soon as she enters. Edward was so nervous that he covered his face with the scissors. The next moment, Kim spots the strange man in the mirror, and the two are so startled by their first meeting. On Christmas night, Edward is trimming an ice sculpture when the angel looks just like Kim. Kim stood in the snowflakes, Edward's love, like pure snow, slowly into her heart. Jim suddenly appeared. Scared, Edward lost his hands and scratched Kim. Jim took the opportunity to kick Edward out. This rude look of Jim was all seen by Kim, and the relationship between the two came to an end. Angry at hurting Kim, Edward cuts the clothes off his body. He feels that he will always hurt those close to him. He breaks down inside and pokes the tires of a car on the side of the road, even cutting up his favorite gardening. After calming down, Edward sat down on the side of the road. At that moment, a dog ran over and sat next to him. After venting his grief, Edward calmed down and thoughtfully cut the dog's bangs. The police came after him and Edward had to hide back at Kim's house. He didn't realize that Kim had been waiting for him to come back. Kim asked Edward to hug himself. Edward tried to hold back even though his heart longed for it. He couldn't bear to hurt Kim again. Meanwhile, Kim's brother is planning to go home. Losing his mind, Jim drove the car staggering and was about to hit his brother. Edward shows up just in time to save his brother, but not before he accidentally cuts his brother in the face. Everyone hears the commotion and runs over, and Edward accidentally injures the man helping again. Before he can explain, Jim comes back to make trouble, and now he's guilty of intentional assault. The sirens get closer and Kim tells Edward to run. Edward ran all the way back to the old castle. The kindly police shoot him in the air and let him go, but the neighbors don't want to and think he's a threat. It was fine before when each got what they wanted, but now a little bit of Edward's out-of-place behavior becomes a reason for everyone to evict him. Watching people pour into the old fort, Kim snaps and runs inside the fort and finds him on the roof. Before she can speak, Jim shoots behind them both and will knock Edward down again. Kim goes up to stop him and is pushed back by Jim. Seeing Kim's injury, Edward angrily stabs Jim through the scissors and pushes him through the window. People rush in, and Edward, realizing his robot status and feeling that being away from his lover is what protects her, has no choice but to say goodbye. Though reluctant, Kim grabs a pair of discarded scissors and tells everyone that Edward and Jim beat each other to death to help cover up the secret that Edward is still alive. Decades later, Kim also got old. Every Christmas when it snows, she always looks over to that old castle and tells her granddaughter about a man named Edward Scissorhands. Once upon a time, Edward never left the castle, trimming the flowers and plants every day and carving a statue of Kim forever.